I need to replace my headlights. I see you laughing. I need to replace my headlights with these. But how much am I wanting to spend? A lot? Or do I want to stick with the cheapo headlights? But what am I actually getting with these? Well, I was given 3 different sets of these headlights by 4-Wheel Drive online, check them out, to give them a thorough testing to see what it is that we're actually getting with our budget that we're spending on these, with the savings that we're making with these. So stick around, and one lucky viewer is going to be getting a free set of headlights. Let's do this. First of all, I need to figure out how I'm actually going to test these lights that's actually going to matter to us, matter to me. The reason why I wanted to do this test in the first place is everyone that has been reviewing these lights on YouTube have mainly been reviewing these lights by comparing them to premium headlights, which are a totally different price bracket. But I want to test them for what they are. These lights, I mean, they've got an E marking, they're legal. Well, they've got to be bright enough for us. How do they actually compare then to the lights that we have currently on our car? So how am I actually going to test this? Well, what you need is a good cell phone. Cell phone with a light sensor. Next, you need a level road of 100 meters. And then you need to know what you're going to be comparing them to. Then I downloaded a Light or Lux Meter app. And specifically, I used one called Light Meter on Play Store. I don't know what it'll be on Apple Store, but maybe you'll be able to find something over there. As long as your light sensor is good, you'll be fine. What is so important about measuring the brightness, which is what we're going to be measuring in lux, is lux versus lumens. Now, for instance, if we had to just look at the first set of headlights that we're going to be measuring, this one has a lumen rating of 7,500 lumens. That is not the value of its actual brightness. That is only the potential of brightness. And what affects that brightness in the end is all the design constructions that gets laid out around the LED, that gets designed and built around the LEDs. And that in the end reduces the original light. But then I'm wondering, how bright should the lights be? What is the actual lux value that I can compare these lights to? So after searching the internet, I came across on the Arrival Live website, them stating what makes a headlight legal. Unfortunately, a value in brightness is not mentioned. All that is stated according to regulation is that at 40 meters, your dims, and at 100 meters, your brights should adequately light up the road. So what it basically comes down to is the quality of your eyesight. Now, during the testing, I had so many people approach me and say, how are they really? You know, they're not sure about whether they like the bluish white light of the LEDs. They rather like the yellow light of the halogen lights. You know, I totally understand where they're coming from, because with the yellow light, the contrast is less than with a bluer light. The contrast is much sharper. It kind of does feel like it's messing around with your night vision a little bit. But I've got a bit of an argument against that. What I've noticed is that roughly 1 out of 5 cars today has got a bluish white light coming at you. Xenon lights, LED lights, it doesn't matter which one, there's this bluish white light which is sharp in your eyes. And that's a real problem. Whether you've got yellow lights or blue light, you're still encountering this problem with the oncoming traffic. So before we even get into the headlights, there's something I want to advise that everyone today, in these days, with the color of these lights becoming the norm, is I suggest that one gets night vision lenses, either clip-ons like these for those of us with glasses, with spectacles, or you can get standalone lenses. They can cost around, these ones cost around about 450 Rand. But now that all that's out of the way, let's get down to these headlights themselves.
I realized I needed a point of reference, so I approached my friend Jürgen, who I knew still has good factory lights on his Defender. And on a clear evening, we headed out onto a straight enough back road in order to take some light measurements. When doing this yourself, it's important to make sure the atmospheric conditions are the same between tests, as heavy moisture or dust may affect the measurements. After reading rather high values with Jürgen's initial uprated bulbs, We then installed regular bulbs and measured an average of 25 lux on dims at 40 meters and 14 lux at 100 meters for the brights. Now that we know what to compare our new lights to, let's begin with the first set. I call them the owl lights. Ta-da! Yes, they're officially known as halo lights, but as the video progresses, you'll understand my reference to animals. Having a bit of a creepy, wide-eyed owl look, as I understand it, this design was first seen in BMW headlights, which eventually morphed into this design here, seen currently in the Mercedes G-Wagon.
So this is the box that these owl lights come in. The power rating is 75 watts, and as we can see, their brightness is rated at 7,500 lumens, but as you're going to see, that's really not going to amount to much. They've got a lifespan of 30,000 hours, that's pretty long. And if we look at the lights themselves over here, the most important thing firstly that we're looking at is the E-marked, which is what is legally required for these lights to be legal on our roads. These DRLs, you can choose to have them as amber as well. You can connect them even to your indicators. They would flicker in unison with your indicators. The two LEDs responsible for your dims on the side there, and these two round projector headlights responsible for your brights. Build quality wise, they're very, very light. Half a kilogram each, and measuring their current usage on dims, I get 0.78 amps, and on brights, I get 1.64 amps. The backside, which is responsible for cooling, is made out of aluminium. You can see from these fins over here, it's quite a thin aluminium. I think from the lightness, one can deduce that as well. The lens at this price range, we're not going to be getting a scratch-resistant lens, so quite a cheap quality lens. But with this kind of cheap quality plastic, I figure it'd be pretty easy to buff out any scratches. So let's have a look at what their beam pattern is like first. As you can see, they've got a good beam spread with a nice sharp cut-off line, but these lights are not going to have the diagonal lift line on the passenger side, and that makes them universal for all countries. But back out onto the road, measuring their brightness, at 40 meters we measured a lux of 20, and at 100 meters a lux of 14 lux. So roughly the same as factory headlights, although on the brights maybe just slightly dimmer, but all in all really very much the same as the factory headlights. So in conclusion, having roughly the same performance as the OEM lights as far as lighting is concerned, these definitely are a worthy alternative to factory headlights, but with upgraded looks and next to nothing power consumption.
These are the cat lights, and on my safari colored Defender remind me very much of a lion or a leopard, and with the amber DRLs look more aggressive or predatory than the owl lights.
Having a close look at them, they are pretty much identical to the owl lights. And just by cutting out the top and a section out of the top and the bottom of the DRLs over there, it's actually quite amazing how much they change the look of it. But all in all, basically the owl lights, same dims and same brights over there. Looking at the weight, it also weighs exactly the same. So all in all, this looks like it's going to be exactly the same type of beam pattern and brightness even. So let's go check that out quickly. And with the beam pattern, we can see that it is basically the same spread as the owl lights, but with one small difference. There's noticeably a bit better near-field light. Whereas with the previous owl lights, one almost felt like one wanted to have some fog lights that would help to brighten up the part of the road immediately in front of the vehicle. These headlights, for some reason, don't feel that way. And heading out onto the track to measure their brightness at 40 meters, we again get 20 lux on dims and 14 lux at 100 meters on brights. So there we go, we got the first two headlights, basically exactly the same. The only thing that you're going to be looking at is the difference in aesthetics. But now, let's look at something a little different.
Yep, you guessed it, the spider lights.
Let him go, you filth.
Officially called compound lights because of the resemblance of an insect's compound eyes, for some reason they've always reminded me more of an arachnid, which is actually not an insect. By far the creepiest looking of our group study, I think that these lights hold the highest score in terms of aesthetics.
And true to character, this is the box it comes in. Completely black, nothing written on. Total mystery. But I gotta say, I have been the most excited to test these lights. And immediately I can just say, they are a completely different headlight. The weight, you can feel that seems to be a much higher quality to these. The back aluminium, the fins are much thicker. Maybe that's what's actually giving the heavier weight. These are weighing in at 650 grams each. Beautiful, looks like armor plating around over here with stainless steel bolts around. Nice, interesting DRL design. But with all of these LEDs, I think in terms of performance, these look like they're gonna kick ass. Again, we got the .E approved. The plastic is actually the same as the other lights. And in terms of the connections for your DRLs, we've only got the one, which is for DRL. So these don't have an amber setting, so you won't be able to connect them to your indicators. Something that I see that's different on these from the others is this right here. Now these look to me like it's an equalizer. And I've got this on my Mercedes ML's headlights. Now, with those headlights, what can sometimes happen, this is on many factory headlights even, is that sometimes you might see a little bit of fogging up on the inside after usage, but that disappears very, very fast. But on my ML, where there's a bit of an equalizer like this, they don't tend to fog up. So it's going to be interesting to see. Whether this affects the waterproof rating, I don't know. But if we look at the bolts over here and the amount of rubber sealing they've got around over here, it does seem that they're still focused on making these waterproof. So it looks like it might not matter that much. On to the rating of these lights. These ones are rated at 85 watts. And testing their current draw, I got on dims 0.68 amps, the same as the others. But on brights, I got 2.24 amps, almost a whole amp more than the others. But quite honestly, it's still next to nothing current usage. And for the beam pattern, I'm going to leave the camera volume on, just to hear our reaction to what we find.
You gotta be kidding me.
Kidding me? No! No.
No way.
Way.
You've got to be kidding me.
There's absolutely no spread.
That's nuts. That is absolutely nuts. You know what?
What?
These are spotlights.
These are spotlights.
Spotlight pattern. That's all it is. Just a spotlight pattern. And not even a cutoff line for oncoming traffic. I gotta say that caught us by surprise. But they're still legal according to this .e sign over here. And to be honest, I've been driving around with these headlights for the past month or two, and I've had no one flashing me. And I realized because of the spotlight pattern that is so direct, it runs straight down the lane. It doesn't even cross over onto the next lane. I gotta say, driving at night with these headlights, you want some accessory lights, fog lights, to be able to just give you a bit of a spread on the side. Because or else it's like driving down the tunnel of death at high speed. So what is their brightness like?
Well, heading onto the stretch of road again, at 40 meters on dims, we weren't surprised to see them measure the brightest of them all, measuring 30 lux. However, we were surprised to still measure 14 lux at the 100-meter mark on brights. So despite the spider lights' shortcomings, I found myself favoring them because of their sheer presence, especially as their daylight running lights were brighter than the others and more the real deal. However, I would only recommend using them at night together with a good set of fog lights. So, what have we learned? Contrary to the many voices out there saying that these cheap LED 7-inch lights are terrible lights, they are in fact a very good alternative to the factory lights. And I believe that the misunderstanding has come from them being marketed in a way that the public generally understands them to be a light upgrade, which they are not, and fulfill their roles by offering an acceptable light output. Where they do have a leg up on the factory halogen lights is their considerable lightweight current draw, which could safely allow one to operate them while the engine is off for considerably longer than usual, and of course, will have an advantage in a fully kitted overlander or for those keen on big sound systems.
So before we get to the details of the competition giveaway, I'd like to ask you first, would you or wouldn't you install a set like these? And if so, which one would you choose? I'd be interested in hearing your thoughts. And if you'd like to consider any of them, you'll find the links below in the description to the online store. And if you like the way I presented this review, please give me an encouraging like, and why not subscribe as well? I don't post videos often because this is a hobby, but when I do, I'll be spending as much time and effort as I did on this one. Okay, now it's time to give away one of these sets tested over the past 2 months to a lucky viewer, but regretfully only to those within South Africa. Here are the criteria. Firstly, if you haven't already, subscribe below now. Secondly, head over to the Facebook pages of both Auto-FUNatics and 4-Wheel Drive Online and give those pages a like. And thirdly, while you're on those Facebook pages, find the link to this video and comment simply "Light Competition." Leave your contact detail if you don't have access to Messenger, but remember you must comment on the link on both Facebook pages. Just to confirm, we will be correlating your names between the Facebook page likes and the YouTube subscription information. Competition rules are in the video description below. Good luck.